With the implementation of the Iran deal, the gold rush begins. Companies have already been lining up, holding meetings with Iran to plan their entry into the Iranian market after implementation day. And now as implementation day arrives, they'll be looking to start those businesses. But they should beware. Not only do many sanctions remain in place, but there are a whole variety of risks that are inherent to doing business with Iran. And the United States must be very careful to continue to carefully enforce those sanctions that remain and to highlight the risks that remain for investors looking to move into the Iranian market. There are always risks to doing business in a developing market. Political risk, problems of corruption, but there are additional levels of risk in doing business with Iran because of the potential for snapback sanctions in the event the deal isn't held up, and because Iran continues to be a primary money laundering concern for the international community. Just in October, the Financial Action Task Force issued its latest report, once again putting Iran in a special category with North Korea as a country for which the task force called on members around the world to implement proactive countermeasures to deal with the nature of the money laundering that goes on in Iran. And as companies are trying to navigate investment in this new lucrative market, they're going to have to balance that against the risks that come about from doing business with actors that potentially are still involved in terrorism, human rights, ballistic missile, and other illicit conduct. The fact that the IRGC uses front companies to hide this activity just exacerbates the nature of that risk for potential investors. From the U.S. perspective, enforcement is going to be key. In the event that a sanctioned entity is found to be engaging in illicit conduct, it is going to be absolutely critical, despite the deal, because of the deal, to continue to enforce existing sanctions. The challenge is all the more current given that just last week it was announced that the U.S. government was going to put in place sanctions for Iran's recent ballistic missile test, and then at the last minute backpedaled on those sanctions. Whether or not the reason for that backpedaling is legitimate, the fact is that it sends a message to Iran that perhaps we're not quite as serious as we claim to be about enforcing our sanctions. For this deal to work, enforcing sanctions must be a priority.